Okay, I think we are good to go. I see Gabe, and I'm going to turn my camera on. Okay, folks, welcome back to Quantum Leap. We got the second segment up here. My name is David Kirsten. I'm a co host with Cory and I. We actually have a special guest today, a timely guest, I should say, Gabe, who we're going to introduce to talk about um, fire prevention. Gabe Woods is a fire prevention expert. He does a lot of things that are great for businesses, and there's not a lot of people out there like him. So I think Oakland business owners or East Bay folks are going to find him of interest because I know the fire marshal has gotten more active in recent months on businesses. But before we get right to Gabe, Cory, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and tell us about your business, and if you have any comments on the fire prevention for business, you're welcome to share.
Yeah, I'm Cory Knott and co-owner of Takeaway Coaching, and I am a collaborative leadership coach focusing largely on business partnerships, so helping people work together with harmonious and effective communication. I don't really have a lot to say about fire prevention for business. I'm sure Gabe has plenty to say about it, so get right to it.
Yeah, and I'll just preface that by saying that he gave a great presentation about it was right after those, right during the fires actually at Visions of Exchange. He's a member of one of the top BNI chapters in Oakland. That if you haven't came to visit, you should come visit. Actually, this Thursday they're doing having a presentation with Mike Macedonio on really stepping up your marketing. And I'll put actually the I'll re-share the link to sign up for that to come network with Gabe and other great entrepreneurs. And with that, Gabe, if you don't mind just uh, introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your story and what you do.
All right. Yeah, my name is Gabe Woods, owner operator of Bayside Fire Protection. I've been in fire protection for almost 15 years now. Jumped around from company to company. Started in like 2008. Became, a contractor, kind of going around from business to business, servicing fire extinguishers, getting everybody updated. I went to several different companies before I started my own in 2021. So I think I've been here for like 3 years. So yeah, just going around trying to build the clientele and make sure everybody in Oakland is safe and protected. 'Cause, it's fire country out here.
Yeah, it sure is. And I just know a lot of the services you provide, a lot of businesses need, but they may not know where to go for them. So that's why we're excited to get you on the podcast to, really get word out to the restaurants and any other type of business or even homeowners in Oakland and the East Bay. We're really in a huge fire zone here, as you know. We've had several fires historically that have really um, are definitely of concern. Something to keep on your mind when you're looking at those hedges or piles of leaves out there,
Very true.
or if you don't have a fire extinguisher, it all starts maybe in the kitchen too for some restaurants. A lot of restaurants in the East Bay. But what are some things that do you have any thoughts on some of the recent fires in Southern California, and how businesses and homeowners should look at protecting themselves?
Well, I heard with the LA fires that they don't know if it was really caused by arson or natural causes. I think they're leaning more towards natural causes, but it's really just saying to me that people need to just have fire prevention on their mind. Whether it is arson or natural causes, being prepared with a working fire extinguisher and knowing how to use it can actually like save lives, save property, or save your neighborhood. Even with businesses, they need to have theirs done every year. So they quote unquote should be covered. But I know a lot of business owners like to push that off because that's something they feel that they can kind of get away with without paying anything for a year. You know what I mean? But really, it's for just to know that how to use a fire extinguisher, and if you can catch it early. You know, most times if you see a fire starting to pop up, if you can get to it early and put it out, you can prevent the fire. But once it spreads, and fire spreads rapidly, so once it spreads, it's basically out of your hands. You have to wait for the fire department. But if you can be prepared and know how to use one and have one that's working and be able to save not only your life but also your neighbors.
Yeah, and just a little anecdote. I know that I've heard from some businesses around Oakland where we do a lot of our, networking things, that the fire marshal has been dropping into businesses kind of just out of the blue, and he may not have been there for 10 years, but they are going in. And if you're out of compliance, you can actually get fined if you don't, if you don't have some of the real basic stuff that is kind of, like having a fire extinguisher, for example. If you don't have that at all, you're really kind of asking for, that for him to be back.
Very true.
So if you are a business in the East Bay and you're like, well, I have no idea if I'm compliant or not compliant, just give Gabe a call and he'll get you set up and tell you what you need. You can also visit his website, which we'll put there. And I'm just going to actually turn it over to Cory for the second part here.
Sure. Thank you, Gabe, for being with us. And so the question is this: what is your why? Why did you get into this? What is your passion behind the fire prevention?
Well, like everybody, at first it's just money, but
sometimes, yeah.
But once you got into it, it's really about saving lives, having people being prepared, aware, you know what I mean, to actually be able to protect themselves and their families. Like I said, fire spreads rapidly, and it's one of those things that nobody really thinks about until after something happens, or they know one of their neighbors or friends or family members that, oh yeah, they had a fire, something happened in their kitchen, and now I'm thinking about it. You know what I mean? So you just want to be prepared, because fires start out of nowhere. Most common fires are like electrical fires, stovetop fires, or sometimes when you're at a business, people like walking by and throwing a cigarette in the trash can. So you just want to be able to be prepared and see if you can catch it early.
I remember it's probably about 25 years ago. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was pounding on my door, and there was a fireman, and he's like, "We put your fire out." And like, what was that all about? It was the trash can, but I had already rolled it out to the street for the night. But the big plastic bin, and I guess there must have been greasy rags or something in the center of it, and set the can on fire and burned some nice big holes through it, which I had to replace. But if it had been up against the house, it would have been a far worse situation.
Very true. And you would have been asleep and not even seen it.
That is another source of fire, is greasy rags. My father has always warned me, but you don't think about it once you take everything out. It's in a different place.
And another
comment. Something's breaking.
We're getting a little, I think the connection there.
Oh, say that again, Gabe.
I said another one is lint traps.
Oh yeah.
Your dryer. There's a lot of lint that gets collected back there.
Yeah, I'm pleased that my wife does that every month. So
smart.
Yeah.
We had a presentation a few weeks ago on electrical stuff too. Apparently those big heaters, like those gas heaters, if you don't plug them directly into the wall, that can be kind of an issue. Yeah.
The little space heaters, because we use those here because we have terrible house heating. And my wife was keeping one of those plugged into a power strip, and then it didn't cause it. The power strip basically just sort of burned out, right? It was more of a surge strip, but it's just, you can't do that unless you have a hardened strip, right? A high wattage capacity. But even then, you have to be careful, because if you plug other things into it, you're in that space.
That's the main thing.
You have a big draw. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to overload the circuit breaker.
Yeah, the circuit breaker, and but the power strips will catch on fire.
Exactly, that's the main thing, is drawing too much.
Yeah. So, and I don't know why they don't just make smaller wattage heaters, but anyway.
America Ooh, we like them big.
But yeah, I mean, I have a little Vornado, right? And you think, oh, it's small, it doesn't draw much power, but they're all 1500 watt.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, my sister actually almost started a fire doing the same thing. Melted the cord, melted her surge protector. So you just got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
It's
But a lot of
always
these
some.
old houses, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wiring comes to mind. I don't know if you do check the wiring, or I do think there's a fair amount of shoddy electrical work out there, depending on like how that building got worked on, and
Well, it gets old too. Things chew. I've had Gabe's in a chapter, and that you see is Nicholas. I've had him out to my house to rewire quite a lot because I had the old knob and tube and things like that. So
Here we go. I actually used to be an electrician,
okay.
so I know about it. I had to rewire a lot of houses, which is another reason why I jumped into the fire extinguisher side. Because
Interesting.
yeah, cleaning up somebody else's work on that is no fun.
No, it's good business for electricians, but yeah, I've
Very
watched him
true.
like he was under my crawl space, under the crawl space of the crawl space under the crawl space, and it's just like I don't know how you do that. I have it's just I can't imagine. Anyway, yeah, no, it's what else can I ask you? So what are some things that you can do? A good one would be home offices, because a lot of people in home offices don't really have to worry about a fire marshal coming by, especially if they're not registering that, or they use a PO box, or really it's just not going to happen. You might get an outdoor inspection. We've had those in Oakland over the years, um, about brush and everything else against fences. But what can somebody in a home office do? Because there are dangers there, right? It's the space heater, it's um, the computer overloading the circuit. These things, those computers, they get really hot. They'll usually shut down at 150 degrees, but not all of them will.
Yeah, plus sometimes people are cooking while they're working and just like will leave it.
Oh yeah, easy to forget. Take a phone call, right?
Exactly. So usually, if you're working from home, I always suggest you just have at least one fire extinguisher by or near your kitchen. Usually, if you're just for homeowners, I suggest two fire extinguishers, one in your kitchen, one in your possible garage or next to your washer dryer. And also, if you could, have one small 2.5 pound fire extinguisher in your car.
Okay.
Because your car could also catch on fire.
Yeah.
So just being prepared all around.
How about those little foam fire extinguishers? They're like little cans.
They've actually taken out all the foam fire extinguishers because they started causing like cancer.
Oh, jeez, because we use those in the RV. It's sort of like, it's just like, you pretty much, once you use it, you're done. But it's you have to have
those
something.
can't be refilled. But yeah, be careful because the chemical compounds in those foams, they've found that they've been causing like cancer.
Right.
So they've actually started taking out all the foam ones.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it was sort of like they were good for the RV because those Dometic refrigerators can be real dangerous. But typically, once you get that kind of fire, you need to put it out, and then your RV's done. Get your stuff out and call insurance because, not just the cancer of the foam, but the foam is really hard to remove.
Very true. Very true.
And usually the structure is damaged at that point, but you need to save lives and equipment. So.
Exactly. Your life comes first before property.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
But Gabe, for example, can recommend which ones you need for what type of location you have. I know there's a few different kinds of extinguishers and like what you need depending on what kind of fire you're likely to have in that area to put out. We saw you give that great demo. That's how I can use that. But we were curious also about your ideal client. Like, who do you work best with, or who do you find that you help the most as a business?
I help everybody from large companies to small businesses. I've done different like school districts as a good client for me. Property managers, apartment managers. Anybody who runs multiple different businesses, like the strip malls or commercial buildings. Those are like probably my favorite clientele that I'm kind of looking for. I've dealt with people from, retirement homes. I've done work at Google. So I've been all over the place. High-rise buildings in San Francisco, and so anything I can kind of get my hands on is what I'm aiming for. But there are some key clientele that I'm really looking for. But I'm just trying to help everybody get the word out there. This past weekend, I actually was doing a community event. People were just showing up. They had a little garden area, and I was just parked in front and letting people know, I can do your fire extinguishers if you haven't thought about them in a while. Come bring them down. I'll take a look, recharge them, or see new ones if you need them.
How often should we think about them? So
you should think about it probably at least once a year, just to check on it. You know what I mean? Every year, probably just do a little shake, because I know you've probably heard to turn the extinguisher around and shake it. That's basically just to keep the powder on the inside loose. So if you do that maybe once a year, and then if you're like a homeowner, give somebody like me a call once every 5 to 6 years just to get it recharged to make sure that it's the powder's loose and up to date. And if you're working at a business, your business, you brick and mortar or whatever, you have to get it done, or at least checked annually, for insurance purposes and for audit purposes.
Right. I'm ready, making a note.
Yeah, no.
We've moved around the house a bit, and it's like maybe time to look at that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been like 10 years since you bought your last one, get it checked.
3 years, I think.
You might need a new one.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we can end a few minutes early here. If you have any other follow-up, Cory, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I always say if you're on point, and you don't kind of say too much, which if we get a real talker on this show, we'll go definitely overtime. But Gabe, you did great. I figure we can end a little bit early here.
Hey,
Right.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for the insights. And we'll share your links, and would love to have you back at some point. And I'll put the link also for Thursday if folks want to catch up with you at your great networking chapter there in downtown Oakland.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.